Now that we know how to represent inequalities on a number line, we can talk about actually solving inequalities. And the rule that you see on your screen basically says that if you're going to multiply or divide both sides of the inequality by a negative number, you have to reverse the inequality sign. And that's a bit of a mouthful, so let's talk about what that means. If I had an equation, like let's say x plus 2 equals 15. I know that whatever I do to one side of the equation, I have to do to the other side, and the result is that my left side and my right side will stay equal. I could multiply both sides by 2 if I wished. I could subtract 2 if I wished. I could divide both sides by 27 if I wanted to for some reason. Whatever I do to one side, I can do to the other and feel safe about the fact that because they started out equal, they stay equal. This is not true of inequalities. It is true in some cases and not true for others. So let's break it down. If we have two quantities, and I'm going to make them just regular numbers so that it makes things simpler. For example, 5 is definitely bigger than 2. If I was to add the same number to 5 and 2, like for example, if I added 3, well, they both increased by the same amount. Since the left number was bigger, it's going to stay bigger. The same thing will be true if I was to subtract, because then they both decrease by the same amount, so the number that started out bigger will stay bigger. So for example, 5 minus 3 is still bigger than 2 minus 3, right? You get 2 is bigger than negative 1. The issue occurs for multiplying, and specifically when the number you multiply by, or divide by for that matter, is a negative number. Because here's what happens. When you multiply, for example, by negative 1, the positive number becomes a negative number. And suddenly, when you switch that sign, the negative 2 is bigger than negative 5, right? Because being less negative actually means that you're a bigger number. And so whenever you see that you multiply by a negative number, or what more often happens, divide by a negative number, right, which is the same effect of switching signs, you have to reverse that inequality sign. So you would go from greater than to less than. In the next video, you're going to see some examples of that.